nation's commercial capital. This is the news at 10, live from Channels Television. Reported tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
Good evening and welcome. Tonight, federal governments and the private sector contribute 3.2 billion naira to United Nations Trust Fund for school children in the northeast states of Nigeria. National Conference rejects call for the nation's flagship, the Nigerian Airways, to be revived. Edo House of Assembly crisis deepens as the court gives 4 lawmakers between today and June the 23rd to answer for contempt charges. And Iraqi Prime Minister fires 4 army commanders for failing to halt a sweeping advance by Sunni Islamist rebels.
And on business news tonight, Bankers Committee endorses CBN's cashless policy ahead of July 1st takeoff.
On sports news, hosts Brazil and Mexico played barren draw in the second round of matches of the ongoing FIFA World Cup.
We begin tonight with news of an explosion in Damaturu, Yobe State, a capital, with 7 people dead and 14 more injured. The explosion occurred moments after kickoff of the Mexico-Brazil match in the ongoing World Cup in Brazil. It was said to have been perpetrated by a bomber who had come in a tricycle at around 8 p.m. Those injured in the attack have been taken to the Sani Abacha Specialist Hospital in Damaturu. No group has yet taken responsibility for the attack, but we understand that the explosion has thrown the entire town into pandemonium. We'll bring you details of this as soon as we get them. Once again, an explosion has occurred in Damaturu, the Yobe State capital, leaving 7 people dead and 14 more injured. Explosion occurred just moments after the kickoff of the Mexico-Brazil match in the ongoing World Cup. It was said to have been perpetrated by a bomber who came in a tricycle at around 8 p.m. I'll bring you more on that story as soon as we get details. In the meantime, Nigeria has begun the United Nations Safe School Initiative with a sum of 3.2 billion naira, half of which is coming from the private sector. The announcement was made by the Minister of Finance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, after a meeting between President Goodluck Jonathan, former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown, and governors from the 3 least educationally developed states in the country. President Jonathan had pledged $10 million in counterpart funds to the Safe School Initiative following the announcement of the fund by Mr. Brown during the World Economic Forum Africa, which held in Abuja in May. The announcement of the $10 million benchmark by the UN envoy came on the heels of the abduction of the Chibok girls.
President, what will you do if you are the president in a country where over 10 million children are said to be out of school? What will you do when even a few that are in school have been forcefully abducted by terrorists for the simple reason that they are seeking education? Perhaps it is in answer to these questions that President Goodluck Jonathan and members of his cabinet met with former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown. The initiative will begin with 3 states of Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa, who have been worst hit by the ugly trend.
Mr. President has kicked off this initiative by instructing that I open a trust fund, which has already, we put 1.6 billion naira into it. The private sector is also putting 1.6 billion naira. His Excellency Gordon Brown is going to be raising some resources.
Former British Prime Minister has the backing of the United Nations and the international community on the project, which will take care of the Chibok girls when they are finally released.
It is our determination as an international community to help the families feel secure about their girls and boys going to school with the hope that they will be safe. And that's why we're looking at security for the schools and how we can help the governor and how we can help the Nigerian people. Fortifications, telecommunications, guards, safety equipment that will enable people to feel more secure about the schools. We also want to help the rebuilding of Chibok School because we want parents in that area to be sure that when their girls are released, they can come home to a school that is rebuilt and safe.
Many concerned citizens will be wondering if Nigerians themselves, and indeed the governors and politicians, especially in the states concerned, will allow this initiative to succeed.
We promise to give him all the necessary cooperation to ensure that the program succeeds.
So by the grace of God, we want to give you our unflinching commitment that we are going to pursue this thing vigorously with all the resources, human and material, at our disposal, and please, gentlemen of the press, it will be completely devoid of politics. Times like this calls for sobriety, for maturity, for unity of purpose. At the appropriate time, we are going to play politics, but this is not time for playing politics with the lives of the people.
The federal government says Nigerian children must have an environment in which they can come back to school and not have anyone truncate their education, and they need the support of all to do this. Chukwuma Onwekusi, Channels Television News.
Well, in addition to the military approach adopted by the federal government in the fight against Boko Haram, there may be need for Muslim scholars and clerics to engage the insurgents ideologically. This is according to the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Pastor Ayo Orisha Jafo, during a forum on Christian and Muslim leaders in Abuja. The chairman of the Islamic Resource Center, Professor Muhammad Al-Amin, who also addressed the gathering, noted that the fight against insurgents is not targeted at Muslims in the north.
The bottom line problem of Boko Haram is that it's an ideology, which is very important. Now, if it's an ideology, yes, the military is very vital. They must play their part, but you will not solve it completely just by bullets. You will have to create an avenue for a superior argument in the area of ideologies. In other words, you must bring up another ideology that is higher and better, that will counteract and contradict the ideology that has created this monster.
I perfectly agree that Boko Haram is an ideological problem, and the best way to tackle it is through intellectual engagement, which are actually at its lowest eve in this country. Among Muslim scholars, there were some that started this engagement some years back with a group, and I think it is really very important that we encourage this to continue, because if you convert someone ideologically, you have done what weapons and other persuasive efforts could not do.
Meanwhile, the military says a terror kingpin on its wanted list is among the 486 suspects arrested in Abia State. The suspects were traveling in more than 33 Hiace Hummer buses at night along Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway before they were arrested. The Director of Defense Information, Major General Chris Olukolade, today said the terror kingpin, whose name he withheld, has been taken into military custody.
Must stay away as the decision of the House to...
We turn our attention now to Edo State, a House of Assembly which is gradually deepening its crisis as 4 suspended lawmakers have been given between today and the 23rd of June to appear in court and defend their reappearance in the Assembly after they were suspended by the majority. The court also decided whether their suspension was legally carried out and according to House rules. In the meantime, the Edo State House of Assembly remains under lock and key while the two groups continue the war of words.
A divided House, no doubt, with both sides maintaining their grounds. The majority insisting that the suspended 4 lawmakers must stay away, as the decision of the House to suspend them stands.
We are lawmakers. We cannot be seen as law breakers. There is an order from a court, and that order has been, to a very large extent, disregarded by these 4 suspended lawmakers. As we speak, they have been here with us since morning. All appeal to them fell on deaf ears. The House have considered it, and we resolved that we cannot sit with them, as they, as far as we are concerned, are strangers.
The 4 lawmakers, on the other hand, remain undaunted, also insisting that they are not only the bona fide members of the House, but cannot be suspended on the altar of politics. This is echoed by their supporters.
When the contempt proceeding eventually commences, we will address it legally. But I want to say that as we speak, certain legal applications have been filed before the same judge that gave the order, to the effect that the proceedings leading to the granting of the said injunction be stayed. And until that is done, you cannot even be talking about committal proceeding.
For the past 2 days, security operatives have taken over the House premises. Even the Benin monarch himself, His Royal Majesty Omonoba Eredioa, has intervened, calling on the All Progressives Congress, the APC, and the People's Democratic Party leadership to sheathe their swords and not allow a total breakdown of law and order in the state.
In part 2, after the break, the delegates to the National Conference reject calls for revival of Nigeria Airways. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.